So here's the old cylinder. It's 4 times out of spec. We tried to cheap out and dingle ball hone it. We got all the scoring out, but the piston just slaps around in there. So went on my local Facebook site and purchased this used China piston kit. I think the guy charged me like 40 or 50 bucks. I figured, what the hell? It's the only thing that's going to keep me in budget. I didn't really expect this. I expected to be able to use the cylinder, but when life craps on you, you buy China crap. So this is what I did. Actually, after talking to the guy a little while, he said he took it out the bike because it smoked a little. So I decided not to go with the China piston. I just kept the cylinder and used the factory piston in the build, factory rings and stuff. It ended up turning out okay, but didn't really trust it after he sold it to me. But it did come with all the stuff. He never installed the China head gasket and stuff, so good for me, I guess. It's as for this China piston, it's coated, and it's the real reason I didn't want to go with it is because it's a lot lighter than the OEM piston. It just felt real cheap, and it looked a lot more casted, so there's a lot more imperfections in it. But here's the motor. After washing it, I'm tearing it down. I had to sand the cams. It spun. That's the side it spun. The exhaust valve stuck. So here it goes. Here's the build. And there I'm showing you the piston. That's the factory piston that came out the bike when it blew up. So the new head came with these cam caps. I ordered a new head. It's the whole reason I started the build. The heads usually cost $500 or $600. I ran into this head, and it was lightly scored on the exact same exhaust valve for $149 shipped. So I just sanded the cam cap down and put it back in the bike, and it worked perfect. I also bought 2 new cam buckets in my local motorcycle shop. Actually gave me the 4th shim I needed because I guess when it blew up, the shim's God knows where, but it isn't it isn't where I could find it. So that was it. And I'm just pointing at crap, showing you I guess what shims go where. It doesn't really matter. It's specific to each build, but I lucked out and was able to just use the shims I had. Between the head and the cylinder, I really didn't expect to get in that much, but they were both super great deals, so I thought I'd be able to keep it in budget. There's no other way I'd be able to keep it in within $500. So we're going to see what we can do. And I'm just showing you how I polished the cam stuff right there. And I'm lubing everything with a little bit of oil, which this is unnecessary because I'm going to have to take it all back apart anyways. I just like to keep it all together during the build and make sure it works. I'm going to have to check valve clearances at the end, and I'll do it 2 or 3 times actually, as you do not want tight valves. It will cause your motor to blow up. Valve will hit a piston and we'll be in the same problem. So worst case scenario, they're a little loose, but loose is better than tight. So this is what I'm doing. And then I actually used 2000 grit sandpaper and sanded that cam down, just the burrs and stuff out of it. Had a lot of burrs from I guess turning a bearing. And there's actually no bearings in the top of this head. When I say it turned a cam bearing, it ate into the cylinder head. So there's no fixing that. And there's the cam cap. I sanded I just used 2000 grit and sanded in one direction, sanded it down, and it ended up not doing too bad. You don't want to take too much off, but you want it to be smooth. You don't want to be able to fill anything with your fingernails, but you do not want to take too much off because it'll have too much clearances and it won't have the right amount of oil pressure. So, and if this feels like it's going on and on, it's because it is. It's going to be a 20-minute video, and I'm trying to figure out what to say. But there I'm showing you the difference between the cheap piston and the good piston. You can see how the OEM piston looks more milled and finished. And I'm using the same wrist pin and everything. I didn't buy anything new. And actually, I guess I'm just putting paper towels in there. So when I put the wrist pin in, the C-clip tends to shoot out sometimes, and I don't want it to fall in the motor and me lose it. So it's a good rule of thumb to guard stuff from falling down in the engine when you're putting this wrist pin clip in. That's what I'm doing here. And it's giving me a little bit of time because I'm on camera. Usually able to pop that thing right in, but try to do it on camera and you look like a jackass. But it finally went in. Here I am putting a little bit of oil in the new cylinder, the China cylinder. I'm gonna see if it fits in there. I know I'm gonna have to take it back apart 2 or 3 times. But see if everything works great. See if it slides in. So I took it back off, and I'm pointing at the differences. I don't think there's really that many differences, but you have to take the dowel pins out for the cylinder. Don't forget that, or you'll get movement in the cylinder. And make sure if you buy a used one like I did, it might have dowel pins already in it. So they might, hit the other ones. Your cylinder might not seat all the way. And since he used like a screwdriver to take this thing off, like the old gasket, I had to use RTV on there. He really gouged it good. Like it was bad. They were deep. There was no way this wasn't happening without silicone. So I put the goop on there. Hope she's gonna stay together. It turns out I have a little bit of problem. Put these guides in at the end of the video. Another guide is supposed to go in at that moment, and I have to rip it all back down. I don't show you that. Well, I might show it to you. I don't know. But it's the other guide goes in before you put that cylinder on. So do not forget it like I did there, or you're going to be in some trouble. I'm talking about time and chain guide, in case you don't know. So here I'm trying to show you that time and chain guide I was talking about, and the chain actually fell down, and you kind of have to line it up on the back of a gear on the back of that stator, but there's the guide in the motor, and I used a magnet to pick the chain up out of the motor. And this is how you're going to want it to sit. It's kind of tricky to get the head on and everything, but with that chain sticking out, but I guess you just got to do it. Magnet's the best way not to drop it, so. And I put that cover back on because you're going to need that cover on, and you're going to have to pull those plugs to time the motor. So that cover has to go back on now. All part about setting timing before you set the cylinder head on. And here's the plugs I was talking about, how you set the timing. So there's going to be a mark in there. I don't know if you can see it, but usually when the piston's at the top, you'll be able to see the marks line up in those holes. It'll be the bottom one you're going to turn, use a socket on the turn, and the top one is the one that has the lines that line up in it. You'll see it there. And you're going to want to, a little bit later, you're going to want to set the cams in the way you need them, but this is a good time to go ahead and stick it all together, and then when the head's actually on and bolted down, you want to check the valve clearances. But here I am using my China head gasket. And again with the dowel pins. Sure everything's good on the dowel pins. And I almost forgot them, see? This is why I tell you kids to look at this, because I've done it, messed it up 6 or 7 times. Do not want you to make that same mistake. Do not look like an idiot like me. All right, there's the head bolts. I don't know what bolts I have in this kit. Everything I have is in a box that just came with it. I don't know what's in there, but I'm just pulling these out and finding these bolts as I go. So I'm lucky I found 4 head bolts. I don't know where anything goes. It's just a pile of junk, and turns out a lot of the stuff was there, but some of the stuff wasn't, and I had to makeshift some of it. So that's what you get when you buy blowed up crap in a box. This is what I mean, $100 motorcycle. This is what you can expect. But I mean, I guess we'll see if we can fix it. Fix it for $500. It's adding up though. It's getting closer and closer to the budget, and it's looking more and more like we're not gonna make $500. But trust me, if there's a way to cheap out, I'll cheap out. I mean, we're using a used China head, a used cylinder head I sanded on. But so we're gonna do it. So here I am, tightening the head down to spec. I think it's like 40 foot-pounds or something, 41. And I stick the cams back in, and this is a way you put the timing chain on. I think there's a certain amount of teeth that's supposed to be in between each mark on the cam when you set it up, and the lobes are supposed to be facing a certain way. Look it up in your owner's manual. It's very easy to get wrong, but the cam lobes are supposed to be pointing away from each other, and you have 2 marks that one points up and one points to the side of the cylinder head at the same time. So I'll show it to you right now. The marks that are supposed to be on there. See that dot? The dot on the right and the dot on the left and the dot up and the dot down. That's lined up, and there's a certain amount of teeth that go in between there. So you can count it. Here I am lubing everything, getting it ready. The cam caps aren't tightened much. I think they're like 8 foot-pounds or something. So do not over torque these or you would turn a cam bearing. And this will all be for nothing. So make sure you get that right. Also, if you don't have, you can tighten this down to 8 foot-pounds and not have the cams seated, and cause a lot of trouble too. I did that one time actually, so you might want to look for that. Here I am just finger tightening them all down before I check the valve clearance. So wow, this is a 20-minute rant. 16 minutes in. This is a continuous recording too. I didn't take a break. So I'm guessing some of you can tell. All right, here's the feeler gauges. All right, you're supposed to be able to slide, I think 17 thousandths in the most on the exhaust side and 24 thousandths on the intake. I don't know if that's right, but that's around about what I got, I think, and I think that's within specs. So if that slides under there and goes in perfect with a light drag, then go ahead and put the rest of it together. If not, then you have to take the cam caps back off, the cam buckets off, and either put a thicker or thinner shim in. So, but it worked for me. So by work, I mean I did it like 20 times, and I just didn't show it on camera. So, but you put your cam chain tensioner on after that, and then voila, it's timed. And also, I was one tooth off on this timing, which is real easy to do. So chase the ghost for a little while and set it, unset it, set it, unset it. And if you're one tooth off, it'll usually start real hard. So mine was, and whenever I got to that part, it was a pain. But I guess you win some, you lose some. And I lose a lot. All right, here's some crappy camera work. I don't know what I'm doing here, but it's just being a bad cameraman, I guess. Horrendous. I should hit the cut button right now, but I'm already in the recording part of the voice, so there's no way I'm going to be able to do that. Sorry, guys. You just got to bear with me. All right, and here's everything lined up, ready to go. I'm just checking timing one more time with the timing marks, and it looked like everything was on. So I made sure the bottom line lined up in the top line and put the valve cover back on after that, and tighten it down. So I just stuck the cover and the gasket on, and I'll button her down right here in a second with the 2 top bolts, and that'll be all the engine build. So let's just hope she goes back together. Let's hope she runs and don't blow up. All right, this is gonna conclude part 2 of the build. I think the next one's gonna be sticking it in the bike, so stay tuned for that. Thanks. Oh yeah, and don't forget to subscribe. Do it. Do it. Bacardi and Cola. Do it. Do it.